Good evening and welcome to the April 13th, 2017 edition of FRC Media News. I'm Keith Tebow. Tonight we'll receive the Easter message from Fall River's Catholic Bishop. We get an update on a State House bill on Seatbelt Safety Awareness Month and provide details on a history walking event coming up at Britland Park. But first, let's check in with the news headlines of the week. Will Richmond, the digital news editor at the Herald News, unable to join us this week, but we're pleased to be joined by Herald News reporter Joe Good. Joe, how are you? Welcome.
I'm great. Thank you very much.
And it's actually timely that you're with us because a couple of the stories I want to bring up, you actually authored. So it helps to get it right from the reporter who was in on all these stories.
Happy to do it.
Let's start with the Housing Authority here in Fall River. As we know, we've talked about on the show before, they've been plagued with some issues. Some of it we don't quite know the full details of it, but it was announced this week that David Sullivan, the executive director of the Housing Authority, who's been on the job for about 4 years, has announced his retirement, and it's actually, I believe, today's his last day.
Correct.
Talk about how all that came about.
Well, I actually sat down with David on Tuesday, and we talked about his retirement. I get the impression he's rather looking forward to it. His last duty, I guess, will be at a special meeting tonight that he will be attending, and that has to do with the managers that have been they were put on suspension since January, hoping that there'll be some sort of conclusion to at least one of the gentlemen who has been on paid suspension.
Right.
We've been dealing with this since January, so I would imagine it's about time that they come to some conclusion.
Right.
But I would say that you're right. I think there's been a lot of things behind the scenes that perhaps have been difficult for Dave. As we know, the Housing Authority for years has struggled with challenges, and it certainly didn't start with Dave Sullivan. The mayor has made it clear that he is going to be involved in the search for the new director, and so that should be interesting. I think that I am working on a story, hopefully will come out next week, that might shed more light on, what's really going on, in the Housing Authority. I'd rather not, give any hints or clues about it, but because it's still, I'm still working on it. But I think that one of the challenges David has expressed to me, and I've observed, is the Board of Commissioners. I'll use this example of these two suspended managers. David was not informed that there had been a series of complaints against them. The board took it upon themselves. Normally, it would go to their personnel director and then to David, and David would make a recommendation, and none of that happened. So they went around him, and I think that's kind of indicative of perhaps how a lot of things are going on there. So, but David's going to Mexico with his wife. He seems quite excited about that. So so we'll see. The mayor did indicate that he's going to change the interim that they approved. The acting assistant executive director,
Timothy Barrow.
Right, and I don't know who he's going to change, but who he's going to put in that interim spot. But I would imagine we'll probably find out next week.
Let me ask you, Joe. What's the mayor's role in does he have direct authority to appoint the director? Or how does that, or with the approval of the commissioners?
Yeah, ultimately it is the approval of the commissioners, but and we have, we saw with Flanagan and with Dave Sullivan, there appears to be a lot of power and influence coming from the mayor's office, and he indicated to me that he's going to to take advantage of that.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see on that.
You had mentioned that the issue with the two managers, which will be coming up again at tonight's meeting, seemed to have circumvented the process.
Correct.
Right? How are the commissioners appointed?
Well, most of them are appointed by the mayor.
Okay.
There is a governor's appointment.
Appointee, right.
And actually, this is another controversy. Is the labor has an appointment, and there's a question now that Commissioner Scott Charette should not be on the board because he is no longer, is the allegation,
Right.
involved in any union involvement anymore.
Right.
So I know that their lawyers have become involved in that. The two managers' attorney is quite vocal about it. And of course, then we can't ignore the fact that it came to light that there's an FBI investigation going on at the Housing Authority, which is interesting.
Very interesting. Very interesting happenings at the Housing Authority. We look forward to hearing more as you continue to report this over at the Herald.
Absolutely.
I want to shift gears now. The City Council met this week, and one of the items on their agenda was a look at the Community Development Block Grant budget for fiscal year 2018. Many of you may know that the Community Development Block Grant helped fund a number of initiatives across the city: sidewalk repairs, neighborhood improvements, also public safety staffing as well.
They're adding they're adding a new. We don't know what's going to happen in Washington. That's another big question. But if they do get the funding that they are proposing, they will be adding another walking beat police officer, which is quite positive. So.
And that will make what, 8 walking beats? Is
yes.
that what I read? Yeah.
Going from 7 to 8.
Right.
But
and it looks like it looks like that the funding is going to be level right now.
Correct.
It looks like based on 2017. And Michael Dion, the executive director of community development, hopes to continue the good work that's been going on. But again, as you said, there's a lot of question marks on whether a lot of this will be funded on the federal level.
Correct. And I would also say that this wasn't without controversy, although I think it went through a little more smoothly than Mr. Dion thought the other night because of the issue with the $300,000 appropriation to FROED that the mayor has made pretty clear that he's intending to take away from FROED. So that should be interesting. Hopefully we'll get some information about that on the 27th when FROED has their annual meeting. So they're pretty mum on it now, but it did go through. Three of the city councilors had to recuse themselves on this vote because of some conflict. So, but it was unanimous with the 6 remaining city councilors. So.
Right, and soon we'll hear probably sometime in late May, the mayor's proposed budget for FY18, correct?
Yes, that should be interesting.
And all this will hopefully make some more sense in terms of some of the budgetary questions that we've been looking to hear about. One final article I'd like to bring up, Joe, has to do with budget and has to do with money for the city of Fall River. The House Ways and Means Committee this week in Boston unveiled its $40+ billion budget for fiscal year 18. And even though it's in the early stages of being negotiated and worked on in the House, the initial look at the budget is pretty favorable to all cities and towns in terms of money for education and also money for local services, where Fall River looks like it get almost upwards of close to 5% in terms of funding increase from last year for schools and another almost 4% for city services. What I know it's still early in the process, but I'm sure city officials are pleased by those increases.
I'm sure they are too, because I believe this is going to be, and every year is a difficult budget year, but I believe that that there's going to, they're struggling to put one together, and I also think our third quarterly report should be coming out on this year's city budget
Right.
on the let me look at my calendar here, April 25th.
All right.
So that should be interesting to see the health of the budget of this year's budget. So I'm personally looking forward to seeing those numbers. So to see how this zero-based budgeting actually worked out for them, in the first year. So.
And that'll usually give a good indication on how probably the city will end its fiscal year, right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Yes, and hopefully they're on target because this stage of the game, if you're not, it's going to be difficult for them. So, but we'll see. Hopefully on the 28th how that's working out.
Joe Good, I appreciate your time and filling in for Will. Have a great weekend. We'll talk again soon.
You too. Happy Easter.
Thank you. We'll
Bye.
have more FRC Media news right after this.
Here are some job descriptions on the latest hot jobs list from the Fall River Career Center. Art teacher. The Fall River Public School Department has an immediate opening for a full-time art teacher to teach basic art concepts and techniques to middle school students. Job number 878-9972. Quality Document Control Specialist. Apple & Associates, a government contract agency, is in need of a full-time quality document control specialist to review quality documents for accuracy and maintenance of internal audit documentation for customers. Job number 879-1676. Fulfillment Associate. The Amazon Fulfillment Center, located at 1180 Innovation Way, is seeking a full-time fulfillment associate to receive products using frequency scanners, unload shipments from trucks, and move large quantities of merchandise throughout the fulfillment center. Job number 878-2959. Kindred at Home, located at 1748 Highland Avenue, is looking to fulfill the following positions. Home Health Licensed Practical Nurse, job number 879-1970. Hospice Aide, job number 879-2032. Home Health Registered Nurse, job number 878-7176. Certified Nursing Assistant, job number 879-1997. For more information on these or other positions, visit FRCmedianews.org or call the Fall River Career Center at 508-730-5000.
Welcome back. A bill submitted by State Representative Alan Sylvia that asks Governor Charlie Baker to proclaim June Seatbelt Safety Awareness Month went before the Joint Committee on State Administration and Regulatory Oversight at the State House in Boston this week. Former City Councilor Mike Maioza asked Representative Sylvia to file the bill on behalf of his granddaughter, Hannah Raposo. The 18-year-old Fall River resident died in a car accident as she was driving to her prom last June. Unfortunately, Hannah was not wearing her seatbelt. Maioza explains the importance of the bill.
I want to help kids. June, they're transitioning out of high school, Donna. They're going on with their lives. They're going into the workforce. They're going into the military. They're going on to college. They're getting married. They think they're invincible. They don't realize how, maybe they don't, maybe it's not the way to say it, but life is shorter than you realize, and it's precious. And so if we can save one life with this legislation, we'll never know, but it'll be well worth it.
Entrepreneurs who are just starting their business ventures can get a helping hand from a nonprofit organization called E4All. Executive Director Shelley Carduce says a recent pitch contest held in Fall River gave the participating entrepreneurs a 5-minute time slot to sell their ideas to a panel of judges. Carduce tells us who came out on top.
Contest. We had Hearts of Hope out of Fall River. They're an organization that helps homeless people. They won $500. We had a farmer from Swansea who raises cows and sells local meat, and she won $750 and a fan favorite for $500. And then the top prize went to a woman from Seekonk who does organic natural bath and body works. So it's very much a wide range of different ideas that people come with. But the pitch contest, kind of like a TV show where people are sharing ideas and the audience gets to text in their favorite, so it's a lot of fun.
A history walk is planned for next week at Brookland Park that involves students telling stories about how mill workers lived in the 19th century. The event is free, open to the public, and sponsored by Mass in Motion, a nonprofit agency that encourages wellness activities in the city. Active Health Living Coordinator Janice Veloso tells us about the 2-hour walk along the Quequechan River Trail.
On April 19th, we're going to have a history walk in collaboration with the students at UMass Dartmouth, and we're going to be they are going to be reenacting the lives of young mill workers. So they're going to be all dressed up in period costumes, and they're going to talk about the granite mill fire. They're going to talk about the bread strike. They're going to talk about the murder of a young woman, and her body was found in the woods of Fall River. So that would be exciting. No,
Okay.
and so what happens? So I'm kind of giving a little tease here.
Okay,
So
go ahead.
so what's going to happen is come find out about how it was all handled. Her body was found in the woods, and what happened.
We'll have more FRC Media News right after this.
So this is Coney. He's a 5-year-old male Chihuahua. He's been with us since the beginning of April. He's just really a lap dog. This is what he loves to do all the time. He's very sweet. He wants attention. That's it. If you want to come see him, we're at 300 Lidwin Street, Fall River, Mass. We're open every day, 11 to 4, except for Wednesdays.
Hi, welcome to Hot Dogs and Cool Cats. I want you to meet Opie today. Opie's approximately 7 years old. He's got a shorter tail than usual. And he was returned from his owner. Unfortunately, they were not able to keep him. But he's a very sweet and interesting looking cat, because I love the way his markings are on his face, if he'd actually show them to us. In his home, he likes to chirp at the birds on the outside of the house when he sees them. He likes to sit by his owner on the couch. So he's very content and likes to be around you. I think he would be fine for other cats or smaller children. We're not sure about dogs with him, but he's a very friendly boy. If you'd like to meet him, come to Forever Paws. We're open 11 to 4 every day but Wednesday. And I think Opie would like to see you too.
Welcome back. We're coming to the end of Holy Week with Easter celebrated this Sunday. FRC Media News had the opportunity to speak with Diocese of Fall River Bishop Edgar de Cunha, who explains the upcoming holiday is one that expresses hope.
Hope is a wonderful virtue, and we need to cultivate and to nourish that virtue of hope in our lives, and especially in this time when we see so many negative things and sad news and all kinds of challenges. Having a sense of hope helps all of us, and that's what I would like all our people to know, that we are people of faith, and as people of faith, we are people of hope too. And hope renews and gives us that sense of encouragement to keep working hard and making a difference.
In a separate pastoral letter that will be passed along to parishioners at Sunday Masses throughout the city, the bishop talks about rebuilding the diocese in faith and hope. In the text, he reassures parishioners that the diocese is growing, developing, and changing to get more people involved with the work of the church.
We need to be very clear, very transparent, very courageous to say these are the challenges that we are facing, but together this is what we're planning to do. And involving the people. I think one of my hopes for this pastoral letter is that people will read it and say, I want to be a part of this process. I want to become involved. I want to offer my gifts and my talents and my resources to make a difference. And I say, this is the vision that I have for the diocese of working to strengthen our schools, to strengthen our parishes, to strengthen the diocese as a whole. And I can't do it alone. We are 300,000 Catholics in the diocese, but if we all put our strengths and our gifts and our talents and our resources together, we can do so much. And that's my hope.
That'll do it for this edition of FRC Media News. You can watch FRC Media News Thursdays and Fridays at 6 p.m. and online via our website, frcmedianews.org. For all of us here at FRC Media News, I'm Keith Tebow. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.